Growing up, my dad never let us sleep in, not even on weekends. And you know what? I do not resent him for it. In fact, I think it changed me for the better. But before we talk about how this shaped my habits, identity, and complicated my relationship with mornings today, be sure to give this video a like. Comment what you have to say about this. Subscribe for cultural commentary and rants from a man caught between generations. And last but certainly not least, feel free to join me at the Zillennial Nexus Point Discord. Link will be in the description below. But yeah, for basically my entire childhood until I was an adult, my dad would have us get up early in the morning. Not super early, but he wouldn't let us sleep in. I think 8 o'clock was the latest we usually got away with. But yeah, in elementary school, it was kind of annoying. And I wished for lazy weekend mornings like my friends had, or at least I think they had. They probably got up for extracurricular activities and such that I did not participate in. But at some point in middle school, I just accepted that this is my reality. Like Tyler Durden said, this is your life. And when I got to high school, I decided to flip the script. I actually chose to get up at 5 a.m. on school days before my dad even had to say anything. I would get up, get ready, and then walk to school by choice. And I would arrive a solid half hour before the final bell to indicate the start of class. Not only did I avoid my dad speaking clearly that it's time to get up, I also avoid the shame of late slips. So when I was in high school, they had these late slips where if you were late past that final bell for the start of first class of the day, you would have to go to the office and receive a tardiness slip. I didn't want to have to deal with that, so I just got up early, like I said, and made sure I was always early. Yeah, I accidentally ended up living the self improvement meme of wake up early and get ahead before I even knew that was a thing. In college, I don't really remember my dad giving me a hard time for what time I got up in college, but he definitely still told my siblings to get up at a certain time, and I overheard it. But by the time all three of us were in college in my senior year of college, he essentially stopped doing that. But by then, I already preferred waking up early. Like when I had an 8:30 a.m. class on certain days of the week, that was no problem for me. I was good to go. Contrast that with after I graduated college and I worked at the movie theater and I worked until 1 a.m. to close. And then I woke up at 9 a.m. on the days after my movie theater shift. It just felt wrong somehow to be waking up that late in the morning. And not in the rebellious way, just unnatural way. Seriously, you let me know in the comments what you think is a reasonable hour to wake up at if you have somewhere to go, depending on XYZ, or if you think I have a bad habit of always making sure that I'm way too early. Anyway, today, being in my late 20s, living at home, and no morning obligations, it does actually get harder to get out of bed around 7 or so, which is when I ideally would be up, but I'm almost always out of bed by 8 a.m. because I eventually do need to go to the bathroom, and that's usually a good way to get you out of bed in the morning. But yeah, without an external structure of having to go out somewhere, which is another reason I'm adding the library as somewhere to go to work on this channel, maybe get back into book writing or as a sanctuary, if you will, or as a third place in general. Yeah, without something like that or having somewhere I need to be, it can be harder to get up because what's the point? The worst part, though, is navigating mornings when my mom is getting ready for work because I worry sometimes, well, every single time, that if I make breakfast or get cleaned up too early, I might get in the way of her getting ready, and then she might end up working from home, which would wreck my recording schedule. That definitely makes it harder to get up within 5 minutes of my alarm, even though the instinct to wake up early is still there. Well, not as early as when I was in high school, but I digress. The point is, when I have somewhere to be, it clicks. Most recently, the Labor Day back to back outings. On the Sunday of that weekend, as I talked about in my video recounting that, I was out of the house by 7:06 a.m. Don't ask me why, I just remember that. And I was able to get to Dunkin', eat breakfast, and then catch a train to South Station where I was able to walk to the Boston Common and enjoy my day there. It just goes to show that incentive matters way more than alarm time. Okay, maybe you do still need to set an alarm as a formality or as a backup. Incentive really helps with getting you out at a reasonable hour. Especially when I woke up at 3 a.m. last December to catch a 6 a.m. flight to Florida to visit my grandparents. Hey, don't look at me. That's how my mom always does it. Frankly, I wouldn't do it like that. But I was tagging along for her latest outing, and that was what I had to do. The core takeaway, though, is that my dad's rule instilled a natural shame for sleeping in, a bias towards action first, leisure later, a resistance to wasting mornings, but I can also acknowledge that not everyone can operate like that. Not everyone can just synchronize their sleep schedule with the rising and setting of the sun because some people have night jobs that they have to work. So one size does not fit all. But for me, waking up early is useful, and I can personally attest to that from personal experience. Again, with high school, I was able to get there really early and make sure that I never, ever had to get one of those tardy slips. Okay, that sounded a little sanctimonious. I understand that things happen sometimes, but generally speaking, I didn't want to have to deal with that, so I made my choices and I stand by them. Call it submission to a broken system, call it being weird, but I made it work. I chose to work with the rules and not fight them. Even now at 28, I'd rather feel the sting of waking up too early than the shame of waking up too late, which for me would be anytime after 8 a.m. And for that, I can honestly thank my dad. So on that note, I'm going to wrap it up here for the video. You let me know in the comments whether waking up early is actually an effective self-improvement tactic, because I can say from personal experience it's useful if you use it to get ahead of other people before they wake up or make sure that you're on schedule with something. But according to David from How to Beast, what really matters is making sure that you get the necessary amount of sleep first, and if that means sleeping until noon at some point, fine. Again, I'm not shaming anyone who sleeps till noon because they have a overnight job or something like that. Again, one size does not fit all. And you should definitely get a healthy amount of sleep before you fuss about a specific time. Anyway, be sure to also give this video a like, subscribe for cultural commentary and rants from a man caught between generations, and feel free to join me at the Zillennial Nexus Point Discord, where we can keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.